Welcome back. Now joined by Broussard. Time for our rewarding performance sponsored by Capital One Venture Card. What's in your wallet? So the NBA has a return plan. The plan will be voted on later today. The vote will be expected to pass. So let us go over the details, shall we? 22 teams will resume the season in Orlando on July 31st. You got the top 8 in each conference, plus teams within 6 games of a playoff spot. That works out to 13 Western Conference teams, 9 Eastern Conference teams. Teams outside the top 8 that are included in this plan: Blazers, Pelicans, Kings, Spurs, Suns, and Wizards. And before the playoffs begin, each team will play 8 regular season games, and then there could be a possible play-in tournament for that 8th spot. All right, so there's a lot here. Nick, what's your reaction to the new format?
My reaction is I think somehow the NBA did something that I thought could be impossible. They might have threaded the needle here and found the fairest, best possible compromise on how to do this. Every single team that has even a 1% chance of making the playoffs under a regular 82-game format will be invited to this. You are giving legitimate advantage, as you should, earned advantage to the teams who have accomplished the most over the first 60 some odd games of the season. You are not making the end of the season just a total free-for-all where it's a 15 or 14 team tournament for the final seed. In fact, in all likelihood, we won't even have a tournament for the final seed, and if we do, it's just 2 teams, with the team that is in the 8th spot having a significant advantage where they just have to win 1 out of 2 as opposed to the other team, the 9th seed, having to win 2 out of 2. And it allows for jostling within the standings because, for example, you look at the West, 4, 5, 6 in the West are separated by a game. So the Rockets, who are, finished before the year shut down, they were in a bad spot. If they turn that around, they could go from 6 to 4 easily, which would drastically, obviously, change their first round matchup, could change their playoff fortunes. And in the East, you have similar logjam in the middle part of the playoff bracket. So, Wilds, I had been critical about the NBA's ideas of a group stage and a giant play-in tournament. I love this. I think they nailed it, and I think it makes sense, and I don't think there's going to be many teams that can argue we got screwed here. I think it's the fairest possible outcome, Wilds.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by it. I mean, I like it. A little bit of it, Broussard, reminds me of your friend who always has these grand plans like, hey, we should go to the Super Bowl every year, or we should take a big trip to Paris. And then it comes down to it, and it's just like, hey, I don't know, you just want to go out to dinner? This seems like the lamest plan out of all of them. It's fine. It's 22 teams, but they're from group stage and reseeding. I'm a little bit disappointed that I got teased with all these awesome options. The next step, Broussard, and we were talking about it before the segment, is who are these teams playing? That's what I'm interested in, because I don't know. I'm looking for the fairest schedule. All of a sudden became a Blazers fan, Broussard. I'm looking for the fairest schedule. And Memphis has to play the Bucks if they're on their schedule as is. But Memphis also gets to play the Pelicans twice. If they get to play the Pelicans twice and the Blazers only gets to play the Memphis once, I don't know what's exactly fair. So I'm interested to see the next step, how the NBA will schedule it. So all of a sudden, I'm a Blazers fan. My Blazers can sneak into the 9th spot.
Well, these are words that typically don't come out of my mouth, but I'm with Nick. I think Nick nailed it on the head. It's fair and it's right. I think, look, Wilds, you want a circus. You want chaos. You want Russian roulette. Hey, let's just, some of the proposals, my goodness, forget the regular, make it an 8-game regular season and let's just, forget the previous 65 games or whatever. This is the fairest way. I'm with you, Kevin, in that, hey, it would have been exciting to have a play-in for the 7th and 8th seed. Maybe a round robin for those last 2 seeds. That would have been exciting. Yeah, I mentioned March Madness when we talked about it a few days ago. But let's face it, that wouldn't have been fair to the Dallas Mavericks. If indeed they finish 7th, maybe they'll move up. But they were 10.5 games ahead of 9th-seeded Portland. For them to have to play in to get into the playoffs when they were great during the first 65 games or so wouldn't be fair. I'm with Nick, as I said, this is fair. You know, remember, they will play roughly 73 games each per team, because teams have played roughly 65 games each. So if they add 8, that's 73. So that's still 9 games fewer than you play in a typical regular season. So the fact that if you're within 4 games of the A seed, you get to play, you know, try to win in the play-in tournament, I think that's fair as well. I just think the NBA's done a very good job with it. And Kevin, yeah, maybe some of these teams are going to face tougher competition than others, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles and the way the ball was going to bounce anyway, because, you know, Memphis had a tough schedule to finish off the season anyway. New Orleans had a lighter one. So that's just going to be the case no matter what.
Hey, Broussard, I just want to kick it back to you real quick. We've talked about what we think would be best. We've heard what fans think would be best. Have you spoken to the players what they would like, or where do you think they fell on all of this? Would this be the best situation and scenario for them, having had the last 3 months off?
I haven't spoken to any since, you know, this last format looks like it's going to be approved. But I do know that I think overall players like it, because there were a good number of players who didn't want to, from bad teams, you know, the teams that had no shot of making the playoffs, they didn't want to go back, you know, because guys were, you know, why go back for meaningless games? But also free agents, you know, who didn't want to go back and risk injury by playing 8 meaningless games. Now they don't have to do that. So I think those players are happy. I'm sure there's some guys that just want to go and play. But for the most part, I think those players are happy. And, you know, I think players look at it as it's fair, as we said, and that's all they ask for.
And the other thing it does is it allows the 2 teams that earned the most in the regular season, Milwaukee and the Lakers, 2 advantages that they deserve to have, especially because they're not going to have the advantage of truly having home court advantage throughout their side of the bracket. One is because it's an 8-game regular season and the Lakers are 5.5 up and the Bucks are 6.5 up, they've locked up those 1 seeds. They can decide how they want to treat these 8 games. How many of these games they would like to go all out, how many games they would like to have players resting, whatever they would like to do under these very odd circumstances, while the rest of the conference is jostling for position. And the other thing it ensures that to me is important is that they are not put at a drastic disadvantage. If you would have done just the free-for-all play-in tournament for the 7 and the 8 seed, you could have the 1 seeds playing far better teams than the 2, 3, or 4 seeds potentially, depending on how that went. They're now guaranteed their first-round matchup is going to either be the team it would have been to begin with, the 8 seed, or a team right behind them, the 9 seed, who, in order to get there, would have just played back-to-back single elimination games, essentially, and then potentially walk into that first-round series somewhat spent. So I just really want to compliment the league on threading the needle. Wilds, you raised, though, an interesting question earlier about the specter of the Nets, and depending on what the thought process is on Durant and Kyrie, on whether or not teams will try to avoid the Nets during their, jostle out of the 2 spot if the Nets stay at the 7, for example, and what that could mean.
I mean, that's why I like the idea, Nick, of the round robin with just all of the teams on 8 and below, or 7, 8 and below, and let them fight it out. Because I don't like, it's not tanking necessarily, but I don't like kind of tournament manipulation where if the Bucks can take a game off, or if the Raptors want to take a game off, or whoever wants to avoid the Nets or Durant and Kyrie Nets, it's going to be the same with the Blazers. I'm bigger on the Blazers than everybody else. But if teams want to move around, like, ooh, I don't know if we want to. I'm a huge Blazers fan now. The other interesting part about this, Broussard, is that we've seen the league kind of dip their toe rather than dive right into changes. We've heard a lot about a mid-season tournament or wanting this. I wonder if moving forward from here on out that we always get this play-in tournament maybe 7, 8, 9 or just 8 and 9, because that game is going to be a fantastic game. It's just not going to be a random game. It's going to be a great TV property, and I know the league has been interested in developing new shows basically for a long time now.
Yeah, look, it's been exciting for baseball to have that wild card or play-in game. And I think the NBA is definitely going to look at this and watch it closely to see if it's something they want to go with going forward. No doubt about it.
All right, we're sticking with return of the NBA. We're going to play a little game called Better, Worse, or the Same, kind of like my former dating life. That's next on First Things First.